Hi guys, welcome back to Taylor Talks Trades. In today's episode we are with Dougie Bell from the Edinburgh Boiler Company. He's taken us on his journey from starting in the Plum Centre all the way through to becoming the MD of one of the leading renewable companies in Scotland. I hope you enjoy. Alright Dougie.
How you doing, Jamie?
Welcome to Taylor Talks Trades, mate.
Thanks for having me.
I'll start where I always start. How did you get into the trades?
So it's a bit of a funny one for me because it's not like your kind of usual guys that come on the podcast, I don't think, because I kind of listen to the podcasts and I've seen like obviously Mark Glasgow on here and like Lewis Page that I know and all these kind of guys and
traditional kind of trades
trades guys that come through that transition where they've been like an apprentice and then they take the plunge and they kind of become the one man in the van and then expand through there. So my journey's a wee bit different to kind of like everybody else's. So I was...
That's why you're here, mate.
I know. So I did actually go through an apprenticeship when I was younger.
Oh, really?
But I absolutely hated it. I had done a mechanical engineering apprenticeship.
Right.
So I was working for a company down in the Borders, Minetti, UK. So it was like injection moulding for coat hangers. And I'd done that 4-year apprenticeship, but all the way through it, I hated it.
Aye.
I just kind of like, I don't like it, but I was good at the school, but I hated the school. Do you know what I mean? I got really good grades and kind of like, people were kind of saying like, you're stupid for leaving, you should be going on to do hires in uni and this, that and the next thing, but it just wasn't for me. I couldn't wait to get away.
Yep.
But then my mum, she was like, nah, you're not leaving the school unless you've got something to go to. You've got a job or you've got a college or something, always the way. But so
you'll be working.
That's it. You need to be doing something. You're not sitting in the house doing nothing. Yep. So I took it upon myself, kind of started filling out CVs and writing letters and applications, and I was fortunate enough to get an apprenticeship. You know, I was like, didn't really see myself as going to be an engineer, but do you know what? I had an offer, I'll do it.
Aye.
So I kind of got to the end of it, and like I say, I hated it. And what made it even worse was they worked those like mad continental shifts.
Yeah.
Like it's like 4 on, 4 off.
Yeah.
But it was like it was always 6 till 6. I remember it, 6 in the morning to 6 at night. 4 shifts, and then you were off for 4, and then you come back in for 4 night shifts.
Yeah.
And when it really hit home, I was kind of like young, 20, just wanted to go out with my mates and have a good time. I was on that graveyard shift of the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. No. And I was just, that Monday I was like, nah, notice was in.
Aye.
So I kind of transitioned away from the engineering side of it, and I kind of fell into sales a wee bit. So I had a couple of sales jobs. Then I met my wife, still with her at the minute, so I was 21-year-old, she got pregnant. Kind of in and out of jobs a wee bit. And I says to her, I was like, I really need to kind of try and find a job that I can settle in. Walked past the Plum Centre and they had an ad on the window looking for staff.
Yep.
So I just walked in, spoke to a guy called Richard Munker. So he's in the industry still at the minute.
Yep.
So he was the one that kind of seen something in me to say, look, I'll give you a job.
Yep.
Wasn't a glamorous job at that. It was kind of like working in the warehouse, making up orders, sweeping up, kind of doing the kind of the dirty work in the branch as such. But within 6 months, I'd kind of like worked my way up. I was working on the trade counter. Within a year, I was his assistant manager.
Brilliant.
So again, it was like, I always say that if you're good enough, you're old enough.
Aye, definitely.
If you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
100%.
I've always had that kind of like drive in me to always be better, always be the best. And I kind of come from a family where I've got 4 brothers.
Oh, right.
So you've kind of got that alpha male kind of competitiveness that kind of runs through the family. And I always kind of wanted to be that, I want to be the best.
Yeah.
So I've always had that kind of instilled into me. So when I was at Plum Centre, I was just like, do you know what? I can see a kind of a path here that you can be a manager and you can be this and you can be that. So
it's good it's got that structure there as well.
Aye, so I was kind of like thankful that I'm now in a role where I can see progression. So I kind of went through sweeping floors to kind of on the trade counter to in the office as the assistant manager. I was like, I wonder where this can take me.
Yeah.
So we ended up down in Dumfries at the age of 23. So I'd only been with Plum Centre 2 years and I was 23-year-old and I got my first manager's job.
Oh.
So I was like, it's kind of unheard of, do you know what I mean? I was on kind of like good money, company car, bonus, but the downside was I had to kind of up sticks and move my family to Dumfries for Galashiels.
Just because that's where the branch was and that's where
it was,
they wanted you to go.
So fortunately I had a wife that's kind of like, she's followed me wherever I went.
Yeah,
she's like, look,
allowed you to do it.
if this is for us, let's do it.
Yeah.
Up sticks went. So we had my son was only 1 year old at the time.
Yeah.
Way down to Dumfries, no family, no friends. I was working all day, she's stuck with the wee man.
Yeah.
So I kind of went 2 years down in Dumfries roughly. Kind of came home one night and bags were packed. She was like, can I do this?
Oh no.
I need to go home. So I was like, look, you followed me here, so I'm following you
At least
back.
it wasn't your bags, it was packed.
That was it. So it was just like, I can't do this anymore. There's no friends, there's no family, and I felt for her. So we came kind of back up to the borders. Worked in kind of like branch roles again, like manager roles and all that kind of stuff. I actually got the manager role back in Gala, which was always the job that I wanted. I was like, I want to be the manager here, because I always see it like, when I'm in a job, I want your job.
To the top, aye.
I want to get there. Do you know what I mean? So I've always had aspirations.
And does that come for the brothers thing then? Do you think that's where that mindset comes for the
possibly
the will to drive, just to be
the best and kind of keep going?
Aye.
Like I always kind of like,
because it's not everybody that does that. That's why I get interested when I bring people on the podcast, and that's why I was keen to get you on, because as I said to you before, we had a chat before we started, but it's one thing having business owners on, but I like to see like where the mindset is, where these people who like want to take over for their boss as such and be like, look, I'll be your MD, which we'll come on to, but where's that drive come from?
I think it does come from that kind of like brotherly kind of like instinct that there's 5 years.
Yeah.
And you're kind of, because we were never rich when we were growing up. Do you know what I mean? I think that's where I get my drive. I kind of get it from my mum. Do you know what I mean? She was at one point a single parent with 5 boys. Yeah. And you're thinking, that's a big job. Do you know what I mean? That is a massive job. Yeah. And she always worked like 2 or 3 jobs to kind of give us the best that she could give us. So I think that's where it kind of comes from, that I've seen the way my mum was kind of wired, and I think that's kind of wired into me at the same time. Yeah. And obviously kind of try to be that dominant brother and kind of be the alpha male. I think that's probably does come from there.
It's good.
So like I say, I kind of got that job and then I kind of got bored. I was like, well, where do I go from here? Because to get an area manager's job, you need somebody to move on. So then I kind of got into the repping side of it, kind of going working for the manufacturers. Loved it, loved meeting new people, and kind of worked in that kind of side of it for about 12 years or something. And I've still got guys there now that I would class as mates. And that's how I kind of met Mark. So I kind of worked with Glowworm and kind of like say New Air and all these kind of companies. And then I kind of fell into a role at Ideal Heating. I kind of found my feet there, and I was there for 8 years. Probably, I think that's the longest I've been with a company, but absolutely loved it. That's how we kind of met Mark at Edinburgh Boiler Company. Standing at a trade counter, doing a breakfast morning, in walks Mark, one man in a van, says, look, I'm fitting Ideal Boilers, come and see me. So that's kind of how that relationship kind of triggered through there. Went through the kind of the rigmarole of the sales, and don't get me wrong, I loved my job at Ideal. It was absolutely amazing. I went to some fantastic places with Ideal, kind of Miami with customers, we went to Vegas with customers. So it was just one of those jobs that you're kind of fortunate to be in. But then...
Is that because you're such a big outfit, or what's the kind of... What was the... I take it you became quite an expert in your field with all that stuff then, because it's products and you can learn it inside out.
I did, and it's like, see, when you're a rep, people kind of go to the rep for answers. So I'm one of those guys that, see, if I don't know the answer, I'll find it. And I'll remember it. So if I get asked it again, I can kind of just roll it off the tongue. So I did become quite an expert in kind of like, when a fault code appeared on an Ideal boiler, I could tell you what the fault code was and exactly what part to go change.
You probably had the ability to, because you had all the different businesses and the different trades guys as well, like this guy might have told you something about it and then you could, that'll be helpful for the next time. You're kind of like sort of immersed in that environment of just learning it all.
Aye, so it was, and I had good people around me. So like when I worked at Ideal, and I think that's why I liked it so much, there's good people there. One guy in particular, kind of like, we're still mates to this day, is like Jerry. He was like a sales guy for me, but kind of came in and I was like his senior. But I can now see Jerry doing similar things to me. He's moved out that role and he's away to work with a kind of similar company to Edinburgh Boiler Company. and he's kind of going into a salesy role with him, and I can see his kind of career kind of maybe following the same kind of path as me. Another guy ideal was our boss, Tony. Tony's kind of like one of those straight-laced guys.
Yeah.
Spade's a spade. If you're good, you're good. If you're bad, he'll tell you you're bad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it was always kind of like, Tony's on the phone, and if he's moaning, like he's complaining about something. So you try and pick up wee bits and pieces of kind of like people that you've worked with in the past.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like I have taken some traits from Tony and Richie Monker, who I've got a lot of respect for as well. He was the one that gave me my first opportunity in the industry, and
you always remember them, eh?
You always remember those kind of guys. I've worked with so many people over the years, but there's maybe only like 2 or 3 guys that kind of like stick in my mind that they were great guys, and they probably helped me on my kind of career.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I say, if it wasn't for Rich, I wouldn't be in the industry. If it wasn't for Tony, I wouldn't have some of the traits that I've got today. I mean, I learnt a lot from Tony's management style, because I'd never been managed in that kind of way before.
That's good.
And then this is how it kind of came about with the Edinburgh Boiler Company. So Mark was actually trying to get me to work with him for about 2 or 3 years prior to me taking the role, because we were quite close. We spoke weekly on the phone, and he was always running like marketing stuff by me. What do you think of this idea, and what do you think of that? And then I was giving him ideas and feeding him stuff. So I kind of felt like I was part of EBC from the beginning. So I always kind of says to Mark, the running joke was, you can afford me. So I think that was a kind of burning thing in the back of Mark's mind. And then one day I was on my way to Hull. I remember it. I was driving down to Hull, I was away for a sales training course. And Tony phones me, and he's like, have you spoke to Mark Glasgow this morning? And I was like, nah, it's 8:30 on a Monday morning, mate. I'm on my way down to Hull. I've not spoke to Mark since last week. And he's like, he's just off the phone to me, and he's telling me that he's going to make you a job offer, and Ideal can't compete with what he's going to offer you, but he just wanted to be the nice guy and tell Tony first. I was like, well, first I've heard it, Tony.
Wow.
So he's like, so you've not spoke to Mark? I was like, nah, I know nothing about it. You've just kind of give me the heads up. And then lo and behold, Mark's trying to phone me as I'm on the phone to Tony. And I was like, there's Mark there. So he's like, these two probably wouldn't know this story, Mark and Tony, so they're going to hear it for the first time. But Tony's like, right, well, tell Mark you've not spoke to me yet. Came off the phone, Mark, how are you getting on? Blah, blah, blah. Driving down to Hull, and he's like, look, I've got a job opportunity. I want to make you an offer that you can't refuse and that Ideal can't compete with. Here it is. And I was just like, well, you've kind of caught me off the cuff. I'm driving to Hull, sales meeting, all this kind of jazz. And I was like, look, put it in writing. Because when it's in writing, it's more official.
Yeah.
So
you can digest that wee bit as well.
You can, aye. And obviously it was a big kind of change for me going for a salesy role into that kind of role with EBC. And I underestimated the magnitude of the role when I kind of first took it on.
Oh, really?
Oh, 100%. I never realised how big.
You probably couldn't see through that lens at that point though, eh? Really? Because you're kind of looking in, but you're not thinking of the...
When I kind of left Ideal, there was Tony at the top. Then I was like the senior sales guy. And then there was like 3 or 4 guys that kind of came in, and I would help them with the sales and all that kind of stuff. And I would report into Tony to kind of take that pressure away from Tony. So I'm kind of going for managing 4 guys who I would class as good mates, into the unknown of the Edinburgh Boiler Company, who's this new guy, and they've maybe just seen me in the passing as I'm walking in the office, oh, there's a guy for Ideal, or they spoke to me on the phone to try and sort an issue. Now I'm going to be their boss. It was like... So when I kind of went in, 22, 23 staff was the head count. Unknown, and you're thinking, oh no. So when I did first 2 weeks, I was thinking, oh no, what have I done
Was
here?
it quite daunting?
It was daunting.
Fair play to you for saying though, like...
But I love a challenge. Do you know what I mean? It's in me that I never give up, so I was just like, do you know what? I'm going to take this as an opportunity. And I always said to my wife, because like, you're probably as a business owner as well, Jamie, you'll work all hours, mate. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of got into that groove that I was waking up at like 2 a.m, things pinging through my head, and I'm like, oh, I need to email this. So I'm away. And the only people that remember like you working late is your wife and kids. No one else sees it. No one else within the company sees the efforts that you're going to. So I always say to my wife, look, I'm not doing this for nothing. There's an end game here. There's a bigger picture here. I never knew what it was at the time.
Yeah.
But I always kind of knew in the back of my mind that, look, there's an end game here, there's a bigger picture.
Yeah.
So then when Mark kind of asked me if I'd take on the role of kind of MD and be a partner in the company.
And was that so see the job offer he was giving you that you couldn't refuse, was that no, that wasn't the MD role at that time.
So it was to come in and
what
be
was your initial one when you came in then?
So it was operations director. So basically come in and take care of the ops side of it. And obviously Edinburgh Boiler Company being a boiler company, when I first went in, that's all we were, boilers.
Yeah.
But I remember kind of like sitting with Mark in the boardroom and doing some brainstorming sessions, and we were kind of saying, how do we make EBC an all year round business so there's no downtime, because it's like feast or famine.
Yeah.
6 months you're absolutely mad, and then 6 months you're kind of scraping about what's the guys going to do today and all that.
Yeah.
So,
and you want to keep them guys for when it is busy and have a good core staff and all that.
And that's it. We do. We've kind of built that staff now. I think we went from 23 staff to kind of about 44 staff at the minute, and it's so basically doubled in size.
Yeah.
But I remember that brainstorming session with Mark. How do we make it? And we're kind of jotting things down, right? So we need to get involved in renewables. We need to get involved in maybe picking up some contract work.
Yeah.
So all these kind of things were festering away in the background. But like I said before, kind of that me and Mark are kind of doers. If we put it down on that board and it's on a bit of paper, we didn't wait for it to happen. We make it happen.
Yeah.
So we took it upon ourselves, and I know you've got your solar company, and you've went through the heartache of MCS accreditation and how difficult it is. I mean, I under-egged it.
Yeah.
I kind of just thought, we're governed by Gas Safe as a boiler company. And these guys go on the training courses to become gas safe engineers, and they learn the regs, and there's kind of a guidance on how to be a gas safe engineer, but there's no guidance on how to become MCS certified. There's nothing there. You just watch YouTube videos and speak to connections that you've got within the industry. Who did you speak to? How do you do this?
And a lot of like things that's in like their technical handbooks and that, like you've got to go and find it. And like I'm quite fortunate because I've got Michael who's got the solar background, so he'd been through MCS before. So I'm not going to lie and say I was through the hardship you did with it, because he already knew what he was doing and he'd done it fairly recently before with our one. So like we were probably, like I was really fortunate that I had him.
That you'd had someone with experience.
Like it would have just been the same though. I'd have just had to learn it and get through it and find a way. And
I mean, the only experience I had with solar panels was I've got solar panels in my house.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew the concept and how they work, and that, but I never knew, like you say, the legislations and the rules and all these kind of things behind it. But I took it upon myself to go and find out. So we started that journey in November 22.
Yeah.
And then we got our MCS accreditation in May 23. So it was a 6-month process. And I always remember the guy coming in for MCS that was auditing us slammed his books on the table, and he's like, so whose idea was it to do 3 technologies in the same week? Because we went for solar, batteries and air source heat pumps.
Yeah.
And I was like, looking, I was like, well, he's not in this room, because it was obviously Mark's idea. So I was like, he's not here, he's in Dubai. So you're kind of stuck with us guys
conveniently,
here.
Aye.
So going through that MCS is probably the most difficult thing that I've ever done in my life.
Wow. And
that was part of that talk that I did yesterday, that's sustainable, that the difficulties that we face as a company to progress. Do you know what I mean? It's like they need us to transition into renewables now, because we've got abundance of engineers.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the stats that floats about is in Scotland there's like 15,000 gas safe registered engineers.
Really?
But there's only 236 air source heat pump guys.
Aye.
And they're wanting us from next year to do 64,000 air source heat pump installations in Scotland with 236 guys qualified.
That's insane.
It's not achievable.
No.
But then trying to get these guys there, guidance, there's no training course on how to become an MCS, and then the cost involved in it is a major factor. I mean, I just thought it was like maybe going to be a case of, right, we'll pay MCS to be part of them, join the team.
Because a lot of these
join
things
the Groovy gang, and here's my
money,
give me my MCS.
Part of your trade association and away you go, but
you know as well, you've got MCS to join, you've got a governing body like NAPIT or NIC.
Yep.
You need to join a a consumer code, so
Yep.
renewable energy consumer code,
Yep.
REC, that's who we joined. You've got to increase your public liability insurances.
Yep.
There's a lot involved in it.
There is. It's a big ask for companies to do it as well.
I'd probably say, like, if there's any guys, like heating engineers that's listening to this, and like, what is the initial outlay? It's probably, to get your certificates, probably about $5,000. But then you've got that chicken and egg scenario. To get your MCS, you need an installation. Now, there's some nice government grants available at the minute for heat pumps and solar and interest-free loans, but you can't access that unless you're MCS certified.
Yeah, it's a real chicken and egg.
So when we were pricing with customers saying, come with EBC, look at reviews, we're the best, this and that, they're like, well, why would I give you X when I can get X back for them because they're MCS? So a typical air source install is about 15,000, but you get £7,500 as a grant. So they're getting half the money back. But they couldn't get that with us.
Ah, right.
So then you have to foot the bill. That's what we did. We put an air source heat pump in my house at our expense. So you're talking 15,000 an outlay to put it in my house. A one-man band, is he going to pay the $5,000 to get the accreditations? Is he going to pay that 15, 20 grand to put the install in so that he can get assessed in it?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's just not viable.
It's got to be very difficult.
So it's hard. It's really, really hard. And
that's the thing. It's like, it's great for the guys who's there. Like, you guys are set up and you can go and do it, so it's brilliant. But it's no great for the industry because it's like, even if as driven as you and Mark are, like, if he's wanted to do it, it's impossible. There's just that much there to be done. So it's leaving a bit of a...
And we can see it as a company as well. There is an appetite for renewables. There's people out there that are kind of hungry to get air source, solar, batteries. There's an appetite there, but there's not enough people to do it. And we're noticing that as a company as well. See, like, gas engineers, we can get them in there by the abundance. There's plenty of them out there. If we put an ad out, we'll get, like, say, 10, 15 applications coming through. You put something out there for an air source heat pump install with experience, there's no one there.
No, it's really difficult.
So that's why we've kind of put all our engineers between Christmas and New Year. So every single EBC engineer, they're now air source heat pump certified. So when we have that downturn come March, it's always in spring.
Yeah.
End of March, when the sun starts shining, gets a wee bit warmer, heating's off. So when we have that downturn, our guys will then transition into heat pumps, and then we keep them ticking. It's
a good strategy.
All year round. So again, we touch on kind of like...
Again, though, you've got to take the risk and put the outlay at the beginning to get them to that level, and then, there's just so much risk that comes with that as well, because you could upskill them on I'm not saying they'll leave, but, you've got they're now even more skilled again, so, you've got all them risks, but you've just got to, it is chicken and egg, like you said. Sometimes you've just got to roll the dice there and go, this is what we're doing.
This is what we need to do. You just need to be laser focused.
Because you can't say, well, what if that happens? Because then, you just stay stuck anyway, so... You've got to roll the dice.
Ifs in it. So it's like you say, all the ifs and the buts. Take them away and just say it's a must. It will happen. We will make it happen, and it will happen. Do you know what I mean? And I'm fortunate to work alongside Mark because you know him. Mark's work ethic, in comparison to anybody else, I've never seen anything like it. He's an absolute animal when it comes to work. He's a real
entrepreneur, Mark. He really is.
Proper.
I say that to him a lot. It's like every time he says he's going to do something, he does it. And if or even if he doesn't say it, he just pops up and he does it. If he's quiet about it, and then it just comes out of nowhere, and you go, wow. So. Or
I can speak to people and he does something like, I was thinking of that, but they didn't do it, but he does.
Aye. He said something simple to me. I think I'd put a post on LinkedIn about where does people get their inspiration for or something, and he said, just look at the future and see what needs to happen, and just fast forward and then reverse engineer it. It was a sentence, do you know what I mean? But it's like, that's all he's doing, or it seems as though that's all he's doing, but that's a really difficult skill to go, what will it be like in 5 years' time? How does this company need to look to be able to be at the forefront of that then, and then he's breaking it all back, and then just actually taking action, like you said, rather than going into one of them brainstorm meetings and nothing happens. It's like you're actually going and doing and making it happen.
No, that's it. And it's like, when we kind of go back to that brainstorming session, it's like we go into renewables. So now we're not just a boiler company. I mean, it kind of says it there. It's boiler, solar, and heat pumps.
Changed the red to the green as well.
That's it, and it was like rebranding. So we had to rebrand the whole company. It was red, but to kind of change.
That's a big task, by the way.
Bigger than I ever thought it was going to be. Do you know what I mean? It's not just that, because we've got a lot of kind of like marketing literature. Even just something simple like an email signature. Everything kind of had that red branding that kind of was there for the start, and a big change. And you've kind of rebranded the vans. You've got to rebrand your marketing. You've got to rebrand your workwear.
Uniforms.
It's just the magnitude there was massive. Signage, everything. So we kind of went through that rebrand, and we've done the hard bit, and I feel now we're kind of getting on that forward trajectory, and we're kind of reaping the rewards of kind of hard labour that we put in over the last 12 months. So we've kind of went for a boiler company. We now do boilers, solar, heat pumps, batteries. We've got a couple of contracts that we're kind of ticking away in the background now. So you've kind of added all these skills and businesses. They're kind of like, I'd class them as individual businesses.
Definitely,
So you've kind of went from 1 to kind of like 5 or 6. The hard part of that was, obviously with me transitioning to managing director, and Mark asked me the question, kind of like, what do you need from Edinburgh Boiler Company for you to succeed as like an MD? And the 3 things that I kind of say to Mark was structure. Structure is massive. So if you can get the structure below me correct, so then there's that feed in. So as it was prior, it was just like my door was like a revolving door. It was always open. You could never get anything done. Because you've always got engineers phoning you, the admin staff coming through, and know that I didn't like it. Or
you do everybody else's job all day, and then it gets to maybe like 5 o'clock, and then you're like, right, I've got my workload now.
And that's where all these hours at night come in.
Because
catching up on emails, catching up
you've
on phone
literally
calls.
just answered probably 150 questions that day, and it's amazing to be able to do that as well, to be the one that's seen to be the leader, the expert or whatever, and they come and they ask you and you solve their problem and they go away and they're delighted with that. But it's also, there needs to be a time where you sort of have to take a step
I've always said, and I always say to them, look, you can ask me something once, but don't ask me it again. Because if you ask me it again, then it's just ignorance. You're not taking it in. So I've kind of got that instilled into them as well at EBC, that look, you can ask me a question once, but if I tell you the answer, don't come back.
Retain it somehow.
Retain that information, write it down, put it somewhere. So they're kind of getting into that ilk and the habit. And also having that structure that they've got someone to come to first. So I'm going to start having weekly meetings with the managers that I've kind of put in play. And that'll be me enabling them to kind of feed what they're all kind of like saying into them. Is there any kind of like issues? Do we need to change this? Do we need to change that? Again, I've always said to them as well that, look, just because your manager's there doesn't mean my door's not open, my phone's off or whatever, I'm not going to answer the phone. You can still phone me. You can still come and see me. I'm not kind of like, now I'm MD, that's it. You can't come and see me, or you can't speak to me. I didn't want that. I didn't want to be that kind of boss that they think they can't speak to me unless. So structure was key. Culture is another.
Culture's massive.
Huge. I think if you can nail the culture within your company, then it helps you retain
it's a moving goalpost, I always say, with the culture one. It's like, I think for all the episodes we've had of this, it's like culture always comes up and there's always something to be said about it, but I feel as though it's like, it's an evolving thing. So like your culture could be like one way in January, then by April, it's like you need it to be totally different. Also, the reason for that probably is that guys like yourself and Mark, who's driven and moving the business forward at pace, everybody just got used to what the culture was just set, and then all of a sudden all these new changes are coming in.
And all these new faces are coming in.
Now we're doing that. We've got new people coming in, so it's a lot of change. So and every person that you probably add, maybe not just if it's an engineer or two, but every time a new manager comes in or a new sales guy comes in, it's like the full landscape of the company changes, and then it's like new people are reporting to different people. It takes time.
And
whereas you guys, like Mark, probably more so as the visionary right at the start, he's got that in his mind. It's maybe been in his mind for like 12 months, and then like he's brought it to you, and then but for the guys, it's kind of sort of within the company, they're just going about their day-to-day work and then going, we've always done it this way.
We've always done it.
How do we change
and again, I feel that responsibility that, see, when I wake up in the morning, I don't just see it as a job. It's not a job to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle to me.
Yeah.
And I kind of think I've got that responsibility in the back of my mind that I've got 44 families that depend on me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If we're not bringing in the work and we're not doing this, those guys haven't got jobs, and then that's 44 families that kind of are going without.
Yeah.
So again, I don't kind of see my job as that day-to-day kind of mundane job. I really enjoy what I do.
Yep.
I really enjoy what I do, and I've always said to my wife, look, I'm doing this for a purpose. There's a reason that I'm doing it. And then obviously when Mark approached to say, look, do you want to take on MD? I need to kind of focus on other things. But at the same token, I'm going to give you a part of my business. Now, he's built that business. So for him to have that trust in someone like myself, I feel a huge sense of pride.
Yep.
That
Definitely.
I was that guy 20 years ago when I was just sweeping floors in the plumb centre, not knowing where my life was going and not knowing where the career was going, but I seen that company within Plum Centre where I had that progression, and I want to instill that progression, the career progression within EBC. Look, if you can come in as an administrator, doesn't mean you're going to stay there.
Well, you're paving the way.
There's a lot of moving parts.
For somebody to get to MD in a business like Mark's or like any businesses, that's a massive milestone. Like it really is. Like, do you know, like probably even more so that you're no family or something like that as well.
And that's it.
Like for somebody to have let go in that manner like that is...
It's massive, I mean, huge, it's still not kind of like fully sunk in with me because since I kind of took into the role 2 weeks ago, it's just been full on,
aye.
Mad.
You've been everywhere.
Here, there, everywhere. And
I just keep seeing you popping up in the press and sustainable it was and stuff. And
then obviously here, so
it's good though. I think the nice thing about it is that people celebrating that win as well, because I think it's good for, like, I think it's amazing that somebody's just got into that position, if you know what I mean. It's not something you really, you didn't see it that often. Like it's
I don't think I've ever seen it.
No.
I don't think I've ever kind of like, the time that I've been on LinkedIn and this and that, I don't think I've ever seen like where a business owner is kind of giving someone part of their business and just says, look, this is for your efforts. You are the guy to kind of push us forward.
Putting the belief right like in you, really.
And that's it. And I mean, we kind of go back and like we touched on it before speaking on here, but like people leaving you.
Yep.
People leave you all the time and all that kind of stuff, and you can't do it. There's certain people, there's certain individuals within every business that you think, if they left us, we're in trouble.
Yep.
But again, I kind of take that kind of emotion away from it, and I think that, see if they're leaving me and they're going on to better themselves, and we've given them the tools to go and better themselves, we've done our job right.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean? It's
there's a bigger kind of industry-wide thing at play there as well, and I'm a believer in that. It's like, you can't no train people, you can't no make them the best because they might leave, because then, like...
But then again, if we've equipped them and we've given them the tools to kind of go do it...
If you didn't train them and they stay, then it's even worse. Do you know?
Exactly, yeah. But no, like I say, if people do leave a business for that reason that they're going on to better themselves, who are we to hold them back?
Nah, definitely.
You can't.
The good thing is like your role is certainly one that's paving the way. It's showing that Mark obviously is willing to allow people to grow. So like that'll probably go down through the company now, because when you see that structure, like we've got it a wee bit like, whereas we bring roofers, sometimes they'll come off the tools and they'll go into maybe like a surveying or estimating role. So it's like it shows a wee bit of progress. Do you know, like we've had guys that's came off and they've maybe went into more like the materials buying side and stuff like that. So it's like, it just maybe gives these people the opportunity to go, like maybe for like your engineers or whatever, to go, well, I'm an engineer now, but if I do want to be something else, then there is a bit of a pathway there, and they must look at yourself and Mark and say, that's probably the guys to get me there. If they see how driven yous are and how much yous are taking it forward, then it's so much more opportunity for other people as well.
I really hope that kind of resonates with the team. That look, we are a progressive company. We are. I see us as we are kind of Scotland's leading kind of like boiler installers for domestic boilers based on volume and this and that. But I want us to go into kind of like these renewable spaces and kind of be innovators, leaders, educators.
The go-to guys.
The go-to people for renewables. Do you know what I mean? And Mark's always been big on brand, like build the brand. If you build that brand, then people will recognise it. So the amount of times that people can say to us, look, I'm going with you guys because of your Trustpilot reviews.
Yep.
Now, we're just shy of that 2,000 mark. Yep. It's a big push that I'm having with the guys at the minute. Look, let's try and get to the 2,000. That's a big milestone. But we ranked 4.9 on Trustpilot. With nearly massive. 2,000 reviews for a local company.
That's massive.
Huge.
Some people just never hit that. Like in 50 years, do you know what I mean?
So so that's kind of how I want to see the Edinburgh Boiler Company kind of like progress under my leadership, is to kind of be the innovators in renewables and the leaders and educators. And big part of what Mark's now doing at the training academy to educate these people to transition into these spaces is massive.
No, definitely.
And again, I've had the pleasure of kind of bringing my son into the business.
Yep.
He's our apprentice.
Brilliant.
So he's our first apprentice and he's our only apprentice, but we've kind of broke that mould a wee bit. Like, do you know the traditional route? Like, to be a gas engineer, it's 4 years. We've not got 4 years to bring these apprentices through. We need skilled labour like now, tomorrow.
Yep.
So we've done it slightly different. We've broken the mould with Shane. We've kind of brought him in, and he's been on the tools since he left the school. So he joined us at 16.
Right.
Young laddie, being at the school, kind of wet behind the ears, didn't really know what he was kind of going to do, but took him in. To be fair, he's probably surprised me more than anybody.
Yep.
That I see him, and you can see the engineer that he's turning into. And you speak to the trades guys now, and they're saying that what a difference they see in Shane in the year and a half that he's been here. So he joins the training academy in March.
Right.
So he's going to go through that managed learning program.
Yeah.
So by the time Shane's 18, in 2 years he'll be a fully qualified gas and air source heat pump engineer. So we've kind of broke the mould, and we're going to prove concept. We're going to prove that it can be done.
Yep. And it's like you said, if you're good enough, you're old enough. It shouldn't
hold you back.
It shouldn't take 4 years just because somebody says it takes 4 years. Equally, there'll be people who just can't do it in 2 years. Like, there will be, like, it's going to be down to the individual and the attitude.
Aye.
And I'd imagine, like, he'll definitely be getting a wee foot up the backside to say, we need to make this work, by the way, we're proving concept.
But that's the thing, it's like, my wife's now saying,
no pressure,
it's different with me and Shane now, because, like, when he was young and kind of coming up, it was all football talk.
Yep.
Like, kind of just dad stuff, like football stuff. Now we sit at night and we're talking about heat pumps and installing boilers and all this kind of stuff, and it's like work talk.
Brilliant, no?
But that change in him since he left the school and kind of becoming the man that he's becoming now. I don't probably tell him enough that how proud I am of him. Like, I can see that work. So that work ethic that I've got, he doesn't really know it yet. He doesn't recognise it, but he's got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Sometimes you just get stuck in that place of, like, no overpraising them a wee bit because you want them to still keep a wee bit hungry and stuff, and it's just well, if he's listening, then hopefully he'll hear that and he'll be happy with that. So that's good. And what's sort of coming up then? Is it just more of the same, just
being relentless? Never stopping. So again, never kind of like just thinking, put the feet up with the cigar, thinking, right, we've now got the renewables and we've now got this, and
you've got to stay there, and then you've got to
yourself. I done a presentation, I think it kind of hit home with them all, and like when I was at Ideal, I was fortunate enough to meet some really good people. Now this might hit home with you, Jamie, kind of like being in the trade and the industry, that we went to a sales conference with Ideal Boilers, and I'll always remember this. Rasmus, he was a Swedish guy that kind of came as a guest speaker. And when I was at Ideal, it was always like Worcester Boilers were number one. And at Ideal, we were always thriving to be number one. We were number two, but how do we get there? And I remember the sales conference where we kind of outsold Worcester for the first time in like years. And we were all full of the high fives, and we were the best sales team and this and that. And Sean Edwards, the CEO of Ideal, kind of stood on the stage and he went, now that we've got the high fives and the congratulations out the way, stops now. The hard work starts now. You're number one, and how do we stay number one? So this Rasmus kind of came in, and his speech was kind of called Hunger in Paradise. So how do you keep that hunger in paradise when you're at the top? So he was kind of giving us like wee tips that you always think of yourself not as the number one, as the number two, because the number two is always striving to be number one.
Yep.
So what's the number two thinking? Kind of like to try and stay ahead of kind of like your competition and be the number one. Think like a number two all the time.
Yeah.
And he always said as well that think from the outside. We always kind of like say like think for the outside in.
Yep.
So he reversed it. He was always kind of like saying that, look, you should never kind of like look at yourselves on the inside. Always look what people are thinking about you on the outside, what your customers think, what your customers expect. So I kind of put
because it's fine for us as businesses to say, oh, we're great, this is what we do, but if that's not the perception out there, then it's all for nothing.
Aye.
And you could have all the best systems and processes and stuff, but you're not communicating with your market properly, then it counts for nothing.
And it's like
so what your customer says about you effectively, or what your staff say about you, is really how your culture is, and is how your business and your customer care is. And that's where the things like reviews and that are good. And obviously you look at staff retention and things like that, and we metrics to make sure that the culture seems like you're on top of it and stuff.
And that's it. And it's like we just need to kind of instill that hunger in everybody, right from the bottom all the way to the top.
Yep.
That look, we still need to be hungry to be that number one. We're no number one in the renewable space at the minute, but that's what we're thriving for. We will be number one. But it's like I say, it always kind of resonates with me how that kind of presentation came across. The hunger in paradise, how you stay at the top when you're at the top.
But you're not just saying it either. Like, you're going to go and do it. Like by you saying, look, we're going to be number one, it's because like you believe you can go and do it. So it's
and that was it. I mean, we were.
It's easy for anybody to say we will be this, we will be that, but it's the action.
It's taking action to do it, and it's having the hunger and the desire to go and do it.
Because one of my biggest fears in business is probably that exactly what you're talking about there. It's like the first place syndrome. It's almost like complacency. It's like, you maybe see it in football or whatever sports, but it's like they win and they're at the top of the league or whatever, and what got them there, it's then like, how do you, like, you're now no really, you can't really look around and go, we need to do what they're doing, or we need to do what that one's doing. Like,
they're looking at you.
Aye, now everybody's looking at you, and it's
no, that's it.
It's quite a tough place to be. Like, I've seen it over the years where, like, for us, like, I'm similar story to Mark, like the man in a van kind of thing, just a roofer with one van, and then took my brother on, and then we grew the company to what it is now. But it's like, you end up, we kind of overtook like a lot of the roofing, like most roofing companies like will only go beyond sort of a handful of guys with them. They just will, and it's just like, it's very difficult. It really is. Same
in the heating.
Yeah.
You'll very, very rarely see guys go above like 4, 5, 6 engineers.
Yeah. Because
it becomes hard. You've got to feed them first before you feed yourself. Do you know what I mean? You've got to make sure they're getting paid before you do.
Yeah. So for us, it's like, it's quite our staff's probably, say, 35 now, so a bit behind yours again, but we're probably similar at one point. But like 35 staff, like I can't really look around anywhere and see many roofing companies with 35 on the books staff and the sort of setup we've got. So you're kind of at the front and you're going, right, how do we be better than what we are now? And then you're always looking for that, and it's probably, that's how you end up having good conversations with guys like Mark and go, right, how are you seeing into the future? And you get into, it's good to surround yourself with people like that that's driven and like are probably at the forefront of what they're doing as well.
And there's always new technology coming in this renewables revolution that we're kind of going through.
Yeah.
I mean, started with heat pumps and solar and batteries, but there's like nice kind of like infrared.
Yeah.
Heating coming.
Just the software that's coming off the back of stuff now is
it's crazy. I mean, look at an app to see how much solar gain you're getting and how much is in your battery, and do you know what I mean? And your heat pump functionality, and I mean, I've got a Samsung heat pump in my house, and like sticking in just like a controller that's got AI built into it. So like my controller kind of with the AI capabilities that it's got, it's now kind of like looking at the weather forecast for tomorrow to see when I'm going to have the most solar gain to bring my heat pump on, so it's not going to cost me any money or less money than what it would. It's just
a real intelligence,
like you say, like the innovation that's kind of coming in the industry, and that's where I kind of see the Edinburgh Boiler Company. Like, we've got heat pumps, solar and batteries and boilers. What's next?
Exactly.
There's something there.
And that's it.
It maybe not present itself at the minute, but there'll be the next opportunity, whether it be today, tomorrow, or 6 months down the line. It'll be there.
You sometimes only need to look back like a couple of years and look at where you were, and then look at the progress to then think, imagine where you could be in 2 years. Like the now user, like, you know, you've just took this MD role on and you're right in the middle of it now, but like, once you find your feet completely there, like in 2 years' time, like it's scary where you could be. And it doesn't look like you guys are going to be slowing down anytime soon, do you know what I mean? You're still young, hungry for it, so it's, like you said, that I kind of see the complacency kicking in because of that mindset there.
And the people that we've got. Like we brought in a guy, Rick Bull.
Yep.
15 years in the solar industry, so an expert in solar.
And you need experts.
And you do need an expert, but this guy can sell. Absolutely sell. I can probably set Rick up with 10 appointments, and I know he's going to sell 7 or 8. Just his whole demeanour, the way that he talks and he delivers the package, and I've seen the engagement that he gets with the customers and how he talks to them, and he makes solar simple for them because solar's quite a sexy purchase. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to put panels on my roof and I'm going to use the sun to generate electricity, and it's going to save me X amount of money. So the way kind of like Rick looks at things is, how many panels can you get on there? Now, a lot of people get put off with the G99 applications and the delays that come with that. Not him. He's all about maximising efficiencies off your roof. Basically saying, well, why put 10? Let's put 20. Why 1 battery? Let's put 2. Because if I can take your bill for £2,000 with 10, so say it was a 10 panel install on a battery, if we can go for £2,000 to £500, but you can get 20 on, why stop there? I can take that for 2,000 to 0. And then that's the engagement that they get. They come through and they think, wow, I'm going to have...
And the thing is, it's because of the technology and the software that's there, like most places here, you can actually show them the payback and you can put it all out in front of them, and it makes sense. Like if it logically makes sense, like you said, it can be seen as probably a wee bit of like a nice to have purchase.
And it is.
And people want to play their part. They just want to be like involved in it. So it can make logical and emotional sense. Then
and that's
it's not even a sale really. It's just it makes sense. Like why would you know?
You're just giving someone facts and figures.
And it isn't. And it's not everybody ends up in that same boat. So that's like you said, if it's 7 or 8 out of 10, the other 2 or whatever, it's probably down to the fact that, look, your roof's probably not quite suitable, it's not in the right location, there maybe a wee bit there's always something you can do, but there's some people that are just going to land that wee bit luckier where they're in the prime slot, right coverage and everything.
They're going to generate loads. But
no, that's great, mate. I think we'll wrap up at that. But that was good to have you on, and I'll be looking forward to watching your journey in the coming months and
thanks very much.
Years, and maybe get you back on later on and see what you've done with that.
You never know.
Bullish attitude.
Let's see in maybe 2 or 3 years' time where we are.
And all the best to you and your son as well. We'll keep an eye on that, and hopefully he'll be the next Dougie. And
the next big face.
Good man. Thanks very much, mate.
Cheers, Jamie.